Now let us discuss about another important concept in our subject, that is lubricants, right? I hope all of you have heard about this word lubricants. People are using in automobiles, in vehicles, right? So the main purpose of these lubricants are the substances which are capable of reducing the friction, between the two moving objects or two moving surfaces, right, which are sliding over each other, right, and that is called as a lubricant, right? So these lubricants, right, due to the presence of lubricants, it reduces the coefficient of friction between the two rubbing surfaces, right? So that will be reduced, right? So if you come and see, the major sources for these lubricants are our petroleums, right? Petroleum industry is the major source for these lubricants, right? So these lubricants sometimes they are also act as a coolant medium. They also act as seals in IC engines, right? But the majority of the lubricants are obtained from crude petroleum, fractionation of the petroleum, right? So before going to these types, so if you can see what are the main features and where and all these lubricants can be used, or what and all roles this lubrication can be done is, as I said, it reduces the friction between the two moving, right, between the two moving surfaces or which are sliding over each other, right? So that the first feature is it reduces wear and tear and surface deformation, right? So one of the very important feature of this lubricant is it reduces wear, tear and surface deformation, right? So as a result of which, so it reduces the loss of energy by acting as a coolant, remember, right? Loss of energy by acting as a coolant. So this is another important aspect of this particular lubricants. Then it increases the efficiency of the machine. So if the friction between the two objects is reduced, automatically it will be increases, and it reduces the expansion of the metal by local frictional heat, right? So because we know that metals are having the capacity to expand when it heated, right? So that will be reduced by these lubricants. It prevents unsmooth motion of the moving parts, right? And then it reduces maintenance cost and running cost of the machine, so that the life of the engine will be increased. Otherwise it will consume a lot of fuel and the life will be reduced. It also acts as a seal in IC engine. IC engines means internal combustion engines, right? These are the main features of these lubricants or lubrication, right? When you come to the classification, these lubricants can be classified based on their physical state. These lubricants can be classified into three types, so right? So the one is liquid lubricants based on the physical state, okay? So liquid lubricants, right? So they are also called as lubricating oils. They are also called as lubricating oils, right? Second one is semi-solid lubricants. Semi-solid lubricants, right? Or greases, right? So greases. And the third one is solid lubricants. Now we can see one by one. Third one is solid lubricants. Now we can see one by one. Remember, this way of classification is based on the physical state. So take up the liquid lubricants or lubricating oils. So no doubt these lubricating oils are also reduces the friction and wear, right, or tear between the two moving or sliding metallic surfaces by providing a continuous film, right, in between them. So we are discussing now this liquid lubricants or lubricating oils. In short, lubricating oils, right? So they reduces the friction or wear between the two moving metallic surfaces by providing a continuous film between them, right? So these lubricant lubricating oils also act as a cooling medium. They also act as a cooling medium, and they also act as a sealing agent. They also act as a sealing agent, and they also act as corrosion preventer. Corrosion preventer. They also act as a corrosion preventer. Okay, remember. And if you look at the salient features of these liquid lubricants or lubricating oils, a good lubricating oil must possesses, right? A good lubricating oil must possesses some of these following characteristics or properties. The one thing is they should be, they should exhibit low pressure. Second one is adequate viscosity. Second one is adequate viscosity, right? And third one is low freezing point. And the fourth one is high oxidation resistance. And they should exhibit heat stability. Remember, they should exhibit heat stability. These are some of the salient features that a good lubricating oil must possesses, right? Then it will be acting as a very good lubricant, right? So this liquid lubricant can be further classified into 3 types, right, based on the origin. So based on the origin, they are further classified into 3 types. One is animal or this plant lubricants, right? Plant-based lubricants, right? And second one is petroleum, right? Mineral or petroleum lubricants. Mineral or petroleum lubricants. And third one is blended oils. Third one is blended. So blended oils. So this instead of calling it as plant lubricant, we can call it as vegetable, right? Vegetable, right? Animal and vegetable, this thing, oils, right? So petroleum oils, and this is, instead of lubricants, it is oils, right? Blended oils. So coming to animal oils, so what we can tell about these animal oils or vegetable oils? So no doubt they are naturally occurring, no doubt, right? So they are used as a lubricants before the invent of petroleum products, crude petroleum, right? So people have used these animal oils or vegetable oils for lubrication, but the thing is they are expensive, they are costly, and they can easily undergo oxidation. They have when they come in contact with moisture or water, they will undergo hydrolysis. So that's why they are very rarely, at present they are very rarely used as such for the lubrication purpose. The second one is mineral or petroleum oils, right? These are the most used lubricants which are there in the market. These are all petroleum based. So usually a shorter chain oils having carbon atoms from 25 to 50, they can be used as lubricants, right, in machineries, right? So they exhibit lower viscosity than those of longer chain hydrocarbons. So the another important feature of this mineral or petroleum oils are, compared to any animal and vegetable oils, they are cheap, they are available in abundance and quite stable under working conditions. And when you go to blended oil, so as we said, no single lubricant can perform all the desired property or activity or application that we want. So in that sense, people will go for blended oils. Blended oils means a mixture of two oils, right? Two lubricating oils in order to get a a new desired property. You can mix a mineral or petroleum oil with vegetable oils, and then your mixture can be used as a lubricant, and that type of lubricants are called as blended lubricants, right? So in the classification, so we have taken, right, in the classification we have taken the first type, right, that is liquid lubricants, right? So then now we can see semi-solid lubricants or greases. The second type of classification of lubricant is, the first type is liquid lubricants, or they are also called as lubricating oils. The second type is semi-solid lubricants, or lubricating greases, right? So we have seen about lubricating oils, and when you come to lubricating greases, so actually these are also a very good lubrication lubricants, but they can be used in situations where, right, where oil cannot remain in place, right? If you are adding, if you are going to add liquid lubricant, it will dripping, or it will fall down, right? It will not remain there in that place for a longer time. In that situation, so due to that they cannot remain in place due to high load or low speed or sudden jerks, right? Just like in rail axle boxes, right? You might have seen it is moving very fast. In that case, using liquid lubricants or lubricating oils will not do a longer time solution. So in that case, you have to go for lubricating greases. And second place, it is used in bearings and gears that work at high temperature, right? It can be used in bearings and gears that work at high temperature, and it can be used in situation where bearing needs to be sealed from dust, right? Where that bearing needs to be sealed from dust, dirt or grit or moisture. So otherwise our grease, right, otherwise our grease or liquid lubricant will become inactive, impure, and it will not able to perform its role, that is lubrication, right? It will not able to reduce the friction between these two. So that's why, so if you are not sealed these bearing, in that case this will get failed. So in situation where dripping or spurting of oils is undesirable, like just like in machines where lubricating oils cannot be preferred. Why? Because, so if in case of paper machines, so paper industries or textile industries, right, if you are working, if lubricating oil falls on that, it will damage that particular thing, right, or it will spoil the look of that. So that's why in that places we cannot use lubricating oils, we have to go for lubricating greases. This is the second type of lubricants. Coming to the third type, based on the physical state, we can classify this lubricant into solid lubricants, right? Solid lubricants. So these solid lubricants can be used in extreme situations, right? In situations wherein lubricating film cannot be secured by the use of oils and greases, right? Lubricating films cannot be secured by the use of only lubricating oils and greases. In that case, you have to go for liquid lubricants, right? And in places where contamination of the lubricating oil and grease is unacceptable, right? So if dust, dirt or any grit or moisture content, if it goes and if it contaminated, then it will lose its lubricating property. In that scenario, it will not reduce the friction. So in that case, we have to go for solid lubricants. And wherein the operating temperature or load is too high, right, under working condition, if the operating temperature or load is too high, then you have to go for solid lubricants. And at last, where and all you have to avoid these combustible lubricants, so then you have to go for solid lubricants, because some of the liquid lubricants may catch fire under very high temperature or working conditions. So that has to be minimized using these solid lubricants. The main purpose of all these three different types of lubricants are to reduce the friction between the two moving surfaces, right? Two surfaces which are sliding each other or which are moving opposite to each other. So but we are using in different physical state and different conditions, so that's why it is better to understand this concept. So in addition to these three different types of lubricants, we have one more types of lubricant, and it is a modern lubricant, and they are called as synthetic lubricants, right? And they are called as synthetic lubricants, remember, right? So these synthetic lubricants can be used in an extreme cases wherein you cannot simply able to use lubricating oils, or we are using lubricating oils in some of the places. So by modifying, or by adding additives into that in order to get desired properties, right? So that's why these lubricating oils and greases are used under some abnormal conditions by adding additives or fillers in order to get specified applications. So that is not always useful whenever you have a situation wherein a same lubricant must possesses the activity in a most drastic and critical conditions, temperature conditions. So in that case we have to go for synthetic lubricants, right? So synthetic lubricants are used especially where most drastic and severe conditions, right? Severe conditions are there under working process. In that case synthetic lubricants can be used. So just like in the case of aircraft, right? In the case of aircraft, so wherein the same lubricant has to work both at the temperature of minus 50 degrees Celsius and at the temperature of plus 250 degrees Celsius. So in this scenario we cannot use a common lubricant such as lubricating oil or lubricating grease or solid lubricant, because it will not withstand, it is not able to work in both the temperature ranges, these most drastic and severe conditions, right? So coming to this, synthetic or modern synthetic lubricants, actually as they are fulfilling this type of requirements, they should or they must possess some of the requirements. Okay, they must possess some of the requirements. They should be non-inflammable. They should be non-inflammable. They should have low flash points, low freezing point. They should have low freezing point, right? So they should have high viscosity index. They should exhibit high viscosity index. So high thermal and chemical stability. High thermal and chemical stability, right? High thermal and chemical stability. So they have to fulfill these requirements, so in order to become the modern synthetic lubricants, right? These are the special features of these what are called as modern synthetic lubricants. So if you find out the examples, so our synthetic polymers such as polyethylene, polypropylene and polybutylene of the molecular weight range from 500 to 50,000, which are this impurity free, and they can withstand very high temperature. So that's why they can be used as the synthetic lubricants. What and all? Polyethylene, polypropylene and polybutylene, right? In addition to this, you can go for using, right, organic amines, imines and amides, right? Organic amines, imines and amides, they are acting as a very good lubricants, because they are also having the capability to withstand this drastic temperature, just like in aircraft, right? That's why you can go for this. And then you can use silicones, right? So they are also acting as a very good synthetic lubricants. And at last you can use polyglycols. Okay, you can use polyglycols like polypropylene glycol, polyethylene glycol, polybutylene glycol, like that, or polyglycol compounds can be utilized, right, as a synthetic lubricants, right? So this is extra information. Nowadays people are using this because of the drawbacks of these lubricating oils or semi-solid lubricating greases and solid lubricants. So overall they must possess these properties, and at last now let us see the applications. Now let us see the applications. Let us see the applications of these lubricants. So already we have come across lot of applications while explaining where and all these lubricants are used, right? So anyhow we can list out the main purpose or the main role of lubricants is primarily to reduce the friction between the two moving surfaces or objects, right? That will be the first application, to reduce the friction, between two moving surface, right? This itself is the definition, right? And this is the major use of these lubricants, right? First and foremost you have to write. And in addition to this, these lubricants can also be used in rust and corrosion inhibitors, right? Used as rust and corrosion inhibitors. They can be used as rust and corrosion inhibitors, remember. So the third point I will write it here. They can be used as rust and corrosion inhibitors, and they can be used, they are used in soap and paint industries. They are used in soap and paint industries. So in addition to this, they are also used in medical fields, right? In medicines, right? These liquid lubricants can be used in medicines, right? So these that will be medicines, right? So these lubricants can also be used in cutting edges, right? In as a cutting fluids, right? In cutting machine or grinding or drilling tools, etc. And at last, these lubricants can be used as anti-wear, right? Anti-foaming and antioxidants, right? Antioxidant agents, right? Anti-wear, antioxidant and anti-foaming agents, right? So these are all the overall applications of these lubricants. Okay, so far under lubricants we have discussed about definition, right? We have discussed about the definition and their important features of lubricants, and then we have discussed about the classification of lubricants into liquid lubricants or lubricating oils, semi-solid lubricants or greases, solid lubricants, and then we have discussed about synthetic lubricants, this one, and at last we have discussed about the application of lubricants.